Hello, I'm back with the last chapter of my Fairy Chase fanfiction, The Ship of the Dead Extended. This is the third part of the epilogue. Sorry for missing last week. Again, a lot of schoolwork and crazy stuff. But, it's probably going to be a while since I have another fanfiction, but yeah, enjoy this one. Epilogue Part 3, Alex's POV. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. This was what I had been training for in my hundreds of years for Valhalla. Although right now, hundreds of years didn't seem like enough. Although I doubted millions of years with Magnus would have felt like enough. I just want you to know that I love you more than anything else in this world. I love you so much I can't even put it into words. I choked back a sob and hugged him tighter than I ever have. I know. Magnus drew a shaky breath. I feel the same way. It's okay. We've had time. It's not enough, I shouted angrily, although we both knew I wasn't angry at him. Shh, it's okay. He rubbed my back in an attempt to soothe me. No time will ever be enough. It'll be okay. How can you say that? I yelled and pounded my fists on his chest. How could you say that when you know one of us is gonna have to watch the other die? I sobbed, my whole body shaking. We knew from the start that Ragnarok was gonna come eventually. But it seems so far away. I don't want to... Vikings and Valkyries, Helgi yelled at the crowd. We are nearing Edda. Start preparing for Ragnarok. I sobbed as I pulled out my garrote, and Magnus took a sword from Valhalla. I pulled Magnus towards me and kissed him for what very well may be the last time. I fumbled over my words, searching for the right thing to say. I know. Magnus nodded like he understood my troubles. He always did. Don't worry about me, okay? No, that surprised him a little. I'm not going to spend the last few minutes of mine and my husband's life not worrying about him. I will be right by your side until the second I die. It could be me. Don't. I choked. Don't say that. The last few minutes of preparation we spent talking with Floor 19 and holding each other as close as we could. Then we arrived. I had forgotten how alive I felt on the quests with high stakes. I hadn't gone on any recently, and Ragnarok felt really similar. The only difference was I was choking back sobs and fighting through tears with the thought of losing Magnus on my mind. That was when I heard the worst sound I have ever heard in my life. Magnus cried out in pain. I saw red. Magnus! I cried as I fought my way through the crowd to get to him. We talked about this, I sobbed when I got to him and saw him laying on the ground with the sword in his gut. You're not allowed to die first. Sorry. He smiled weakly, and it was the most heartbreaking thing I ever had to witness. Who did this? I asked, frantically wiping tears off my cheeks and combing through Magnus's hair. Magnus pointed to a body lying on the floor a few feet away. I would recognize that shriveled face anywhere. Loki. My own father killed the love of my life. If he wasn't already dead, I would have killed him in the slowest, most painful way possible. Since I couldn't do that, I let out a painful scream and cradled Magnus's head in my arms and kissed him until he muttered his last words for me. I love you. I love you too, I sobbed. Go kill some bad guys for me, Pharaoh. With that, he lay lifeless in my arms. I let loose an even worse-sounding scream as I abandoned Magnus and kept note of where he was to grant his final request. I lost count of how many I killed. I saw red and nothing was stopping me. I strangled, decapitated, and picked up swords from the fallen to stab. I was a killing machine. By the time I started to slow down, I realized how exhausted I was. I looked around me. I saw giant corpses littered on the ground around me. I staggered back to where I left Magnus's body slowly. By the time I got there, Surt was right next to Magnus. I no longer felt exhausted when I saw the weapon in his hand. Jack was fighting most of Floor 19 in Surt's hand. Get the hell away from my friends and husband, I roared at Surt. Don't you get it? He laughed back. You don't have a husband anymore. I know he did not just say that, Mallory muttered. I barely saw or heard anything else. All I saw was Surt making a joke of Magnus, and I was not going to let that slide. I dodged Jack, ducked as Surt tried to punch me, and climbed on his shoulders. I wrapped my garrote around his head and pulled with all my strength. Sert's skin was thick, and I barely cut skin by the time Jack caught up with me and stuck himself in my gut. I didn't blame Jack. I knew he couldn't help it, and it was his destiny to fall into Sert's hands. I did, however, blame Sert. All I knew was I was not about to die without killing him. I pulled my garrote tighter until black spots blurred my vision, and I felt weak. I remember falling and Mallory catching me. I remember hearing a thud on the ground and Mallory laying me next to Magnus, assuring me that Sert was dead. I remember seeing Mallory crying and cradling my head, similar to what I did for Magnus. Then I remember black. I remember feeling at peace and ready to finally see Magnus again. That was the last chapter of the Ship of the Dead extended. I finally did it. Doubted I would finish it for a little while there, but we did it. Sorry. That was a rough chapter. That was rough for me to write. That was rough for me to read again. But we made it through. And comment any ideas you have for the next fan fiction. Bye.